All right, good evening and welcome to the October 24th school committee meeting. It is 7 o'clock and I will open the meeting. Any public comment tonight? All right, Christy. Introduce yourself and 3 minutes, please. Yes.
Christy Kilbazinski, Lottie Drive. I'd first like to thank the members of the school committee and Dr. Cummings for coming out on October 11th to support the French Club and the trip to Quebec. Thanks to you guys, we earned over $500 for the scholarship fund, and I'd like to thank you. And even though you guys did great, you came in first, in spite of always being the last team to bring up their answers. But you did great. In addition, I'd also want to inform you guys that tomorrow night, October 25th, there's a pizza fundraiser for the French trip with Pepperoni Express. 33% of the sales of tomorrow from Pepperoni Express tomorrow will go towards the scholarship fund. And lastly, I would like to acknowledge Mr. Broussard for all the help he's done in helping me get the new solar lit crosswalks around town, especially those around the school. As some of you may know, this past year I've become a bit obsessed with traffic safety, and I'm very hopeful, I'm very thankful that Dr. Cummings got the matching speed signs at GHS lot, and that we've distributed the new arrival and dismissal procedures at GMS and GHS, and Mr. Starr's arrival and dismissal video has been a great help, and now we have the new crosswalks, and soon we will have a new signage for the kids that walk to school, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you all so much for that.
Christy, did you say your name and address for the record beforehand? Did
Yeah.
she? You did? Oh, all right. I didn't mean to make you go so fast. So we don't usually comment. I would like to thank you for your advocacy. They look amazing and it's awesome. So thank you so much. Citizen power.
I just want to echo that. It does make a huge difference across the board, but definitely I can speak firsthand from the kids who walk in the dark mornings down by Brigham Hill and Providence Road. That's a game changer. So thank you very much.
Awesome work. Any other public comment? Mr. Stevens, you can come up, state your name and address, and we usually give 3 minutes and the committee won't respond to anything. We'll just listen.
Okay, John Stevens, 17 Millbury Street. I just am curious if the school committee has come down with a policy or an opinion on the MCAS. I've had a couple people have me sign, I didn't realize I was signing the same thing, to put it on the ballot to make MCAS no longer a requirement for graduation. And what is the school committee's opinion on that?
All right, I'm gonna just, because he asked a quick question, we have not made an opinion about it yet. It's actually tonight on one of our legislative to back with our advisory committee. So I expect we'll start the discussion tonight and perhaps we will put it on a later agenda. We do have some members personally advocating for it outside of the committee, but we haven't made a decision yet as an entire committee.
Okay, because I didn't know in terms of, like, have the local legislators been contacted? And you know, again, if you don't have an opinion, you can't call them and say, hey, this is what we think.
Right.
You know, if that's where the ball is rolling.
Yeah,
get people to advocate with them, because if they hear from one person, they're not gonna really have their ears up. If they hear from two, they'll really listen. If they have 5 people call, that's when they really pay attention. So if people know that's where you're headed, then they can follow suit.
I completely understand. Yep, and I think we'll probably start the discussion tonight, and if we need to put on a further agenda, we will. But that's a great question. Thank you, and we'll keep you posted. Thanks, John. All right. Great. I'm guessing we have no other public comment, because that would be really weird, even though it's Halloween, and there could be some ghosts. Next up is Neil Trahan. He's going to give our technology report. Neil is our Director of Technology. Welcome, Neil. Happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to present to the school committee and provide a brief update on technology in the district. As I do every year, and I apologize if this sounds a little redundant, but I have an excellent team. I'm very proud of everybody on my team, both the older members or more senior tenured members, as well as our new members. Not pictured here, I do want to recognize John Sanosk. John recently left the tech department a couple weeks ago, actually. Last week, actually, excuse me. He was with me for 7.5 years, provided many, many good years of service to Grafton, was in a lot of ways my right hand, would do anything that we asked him to do. If we needed him to stay late, he gave his notice in September and made sure that he worked right up through town meeting because he knows that is a huge event for us and wanted that to go well. Provided some great training to Mr. Coviello, who took his place. So I want to say thank you to John publicly. But Maureen has been with the district for 13 years in the technology department. Jamie Cardinal has been with us for 6 years. He was our mobile device manager at the high school, managed all the iPads. And then last year when Deb Broussard, our data coordinator, retired, he took her place. We had a little bit of internal moving around. He went from the high school as a mobile device manager and now kind of runs Power School for us and is doing a phenomenal job with that. Paul Mitchell was his assistant as the assistant mobile device manager. He's now the manager. Krista LeBrun last year took over for Cindy Engvall, who retired last year, so she's now in her second year. Jesse Delacona is just coming up on a year. He replaced John Oren last year. We have Patricia Montral, who is our assistant mobile device manager. Paul handles mostly the iPads and staff laptops. And Patricia handles all of the Chromebooks, all of the carts that we have at the elementary buildings, as well as all of the devices that we have one-to-one in grades 6, 7, and 8. And then finally, we have Valerie Doust, who does everything for us. She does all our inventorying every time we get something in. All our technology does all our inventorying, all our organization. And helps us with our big events, our iPad distributions, our Chromebook distributions, and many other events throughout the summer. So I just want to thank that team. They are there. They keep us running and answer calls on a regular basis, and they're amazing to work with. So I appreciate every one of them. I seem to present at the same time every fall, and then we go through the winter, spring, and summer. The spring and summer are busy, busy times for us. MCAS starts now, actually. And this year, we supported the PSAT testing at the high school. That was digital this year. We had an administration of that a couple weeks ago. We'll have another administration of that on Thursday. We do retests for MCAS starting in November. We have another one in February. We have the spring assessment, and then we have the science, technology, bio, in June. So that happens almost all year round. Once we start in November, we're always preparing for that. At the end of the year, we start in December with GHS and GMS scheduling. That's something that the tech department is involved in. Myself and Mr. Cardinal, our Power School guru, we start planning for the following school year in December, and we have a timeline because there's recommendations and student requests and parent requests, so that process takes a little while. Then heading into the summer, we have to collect our Chromebooks, our iPads from the seniors. I loved having the summer programs at the high school. That's been great for the technology department because everything's in one place, but we do provide a lot of support for the ESY and the enrichment programs at the high school to make sure that those programs have all of the technology needs and support that they have. And then, of course, we're setting up the new iPads for our incoming 9th graders, our incoming 6th graders and their Chromebooks. We chase every custodian through the building as they're cleaning up their classrooms and getting the classrooms ready. We're right behind them setting up the technology so that when the teachers come in, they're ready to go. We flip all our systems into the new school year. We set up accounts and devices for new staff. That's always a task at the beginning of the year with our new hires. And of course, Jamie is completing all of the end of year reporting through Power School with the state. New student registration. Last year, we developed a process where if a parent was identified as not speaking English or English was not their first language, we started a process for supporting those families with registering in the district. This year, we had about 20 families between August and September. And then we roll out our student demographic updates so we can get the most up-to-date information from our families. So some of the things that happen in the spring and summer. This year, a few new things we've taken on. The technology department has assumed responsibility for all security cameras, as well as the badge and door access controls at all of the buildings. Mr. LeMay, prior to his leaving, had 9 projects in the works at various stages. We've implemented new security servers. We've migrated all of district cameras to one system now instead of 2. And another big project is 15 new cameras at the middle school. In addition to that, we've expanded access to the security cameras for our building principals so that they have mobile access now. So no matter where they are in the building, they can see the security cameras on their phones or their laptops. Relative to curriculum and instruction, this year the technology department is supporting the implementation of 4 curriculum pilots, particularly those that are at the higher levels where Schoology integration is involved. So we can see exactly how those applications integrate with the technology that we're already using. And again, I think I already mentioned the administration of the digital PSAT. Last spring, I started drafting a technology plan with the help of the district's leadership team. I completed that plan and have started disseminating that plan. It's on our website. If you go to graftonps.org/techplan, and the tech plan has 11 major components. I'll look at some of those tonight with you. So I begin with just a quick vision for educational technology, for our instructional technology, as well as our infrastructure and our systems. I have identified with the leadership team 4 major technology goals, and this is just one of those goals. So to develop the knowledge and train educators on digital classroom management tools. So last year we began the implementation of GoGuardian in grades 2 through 8, and we also use Apple Classroom in 9 through 12. Another section of the technology plan is related to our hardware. Not everything, I didn't include everything in this section of the technology plan, but I included those things that are the biggest budget drivers or that really need to be watched. So for here, example, this is our refresh plan for our computer labs in the district. I tried to present kind of a historical picture of what we've done so that you can see, what was done in what year and where we're going in the future. So what needs to happen next. And then it's a little bit cyclical, right? Then we come back in year 5 and 6 and start over again. So you can see where in 2018 we replaced the technology engineering lab computers at the high school, and that is being done again this year. One of the pieces that I'm most proud of in the technology plan are the pre-approved SMART goals that we created for educators. And there's something for everyone here if you wanted to do that. I think all totaled, we probably have about 30 educators who have adopted either individually or in a team one of these goals. So for example, the social studies department at the middle school has adopted goal number 1 using Schoology assessments. We have a team at Millbury Street that has adopted the student writing goal, and then lots of educators have adopted goals individually. So each one of these plans is a live link, and that goal is kind of written out. And it's just a template. The goal can be modified, but it's a place to start that identifies technology as the target of the goal. Within the technology plan, one of the things that we're doing, kind of in the hardware refresh, is expanding the touch panels that we have installed at North Grafton and South Grafton to grades 2 and 3. So we've already begun that. These are some classrooms, at the second grade classrooms. We have all but 4 second grade classrooms done. I anticipate doing the rest of those kind of at the end of this year when I know better if we've lost any devices due to malfunction or just age. But that project started this year with second grade, and we'll continue that through third grade. The touch device, these touch view panels are interactive. They have an application called Snowflake where teachers can create games, and there's no bulbs to replace. There's 20 points of touch, so lots of students can come up at one time and touch the panels. I've been having regular meetings with Nicole McDonald and a few members of the special education department on assistive technology. We have a lot of assistive technology within the district, and one of our goals this year, also included in the tech plan, is to expand the use of sound field systems to support students with hearing loss, auditory processing disorders, or other learning disabilities. And we've met and identified the strategic placement of sound field systems kind of through the next few years so that we can support students as they progress through our grades, starting this year with 5 that were installed in Millbury Street School. Some of the schools don't lend themselves because of their ceilings to the kind of ceiling-mounted sound field systems, so we also have portable sound systems or sound field systems that we use in those classrooms as well. Those are especially helpful for classrooms for the grade levels that transition from room to room and aren't stationary. One of the things I'm trying to do is future-proof us. So we started in 2021 with the core switching and firewall at the high school. At age 10, all of the switching at the high school, kind of the brains or the heart of the district, needed to be replaced. I wanted to do that before it failed, and where we could utilize funding from E-rate. We apply for E-rate every year. E-rate, or the federal government, pays for 40% of whatever technology we put on that application. So all of the switching at the high school was replaced in 2021, including our firewall. In 2022, we did the switch here at the central office. 2023 is Millbury Street School, and that's this project. The technology plan identifies North Grafton and South Grafton moving forward. So as we look to, and one of the sections of the tech plan is, what does technology look like 5 years out, or in 2030? We want to make sure that the infrastructure can handle whatever it is that we're doing at that time. Special projects. One of the things that we have I've identified in the tech plan are a couple of special projects, and artificial intelligence is one of those. This year we had some professional development at our district leadership team retreat on artificial intelligence. We're already using it. Renaissance, our STAR assessment, is a form of artificial intelligence. Lexia, that so many of our students use, is a form of artificial intelligence. Of course, natural language processors, large language processors like ChatGPT are in the news. We had 10 educators last week attend the MassQ conference at Gillette Stadium, and it was, almost every session was, about artificial intelligence. So I actually have developed one of my educator goals along with Jen Mannion on kind of increasing the knowledge of our educators around artificial intelligence and how they can use it themselves in the classroom. So we did a quick survey. Here are some of the responses on AI, negative versus positive feelings about it, overall knowledge about artificial intelligence, and how many use it in their daily practice. Tomorrow, on the half day, North Grafton Elementary and South Grafton will come together and have a training. At North Grafton, Krista LeBrun, our digital learning specialist, will do that training along with Jen Mannion on AI. And I'll be presenting along with Steve Wilshire to the Millbury Street and North Street staff at Millbury Street Elementary School. And then finally, just closing kind of with my FY25 budget. I put it next to FY24 so that you can see. It's probably the first year that the current year is less than the year before. There are some key reasons for that. The first is in FY23 and FY24, I had a significant number for our licenses for the Envision Math program. That's a 6-year license. The curriculum is typically longer, so that's not budgeted in the next few years. We'll have to budget that again in 29. So that's a huge decrease from my budget, although everything else is increased, and there are a few new items in the software line. Relative to the hardware, Anita Patel, we had engaged initially, our Apple purchases were done through a lease, and there was a yearly payment. Anita Patel kind of made it her goal to pay off that lease over time, and then include the Apple purchases in the budget. So that's out of the budget for FY25. That lease is paid off. So that hardware number, although there are increases there as well, the number is smaller. And just finally, some of those things that are driving the budget, things that are new, Freckle, a tool within Renaissance, kind of connected to our STAR assessment. That's new software that will need to add to the FY25 budget. Hardware, I try to keep the sister schools together, so I'm not just replacing one lab or refreshing one lab, we're looking at two, so that's Millbury Street and North Street. I'm adding security into my lines now as I'm taking over the cameras. So camera replacement, licensing, badge replacement, door access readers over time. The sound field systems. We've been very lucky. Back in 2020, during the pandemic, we had some money to spend on staff laptops. We've been using those staff laptops since then, but now it's time to put that back in the budget. Those are starting to need to be replaced, and we don't have any new laptops to provide to new staff moving forward. So that's one thing that is driving that kind of 60,000 there. Core switching at Millbury Street, at South Grafton and North Grafton. Again, that's part of a larger plan. The high school, central office, Millbury Street, and then those two buildings. And then finally, we have a number of access points, about 204 that will become end of support in December of 2025. So I've developed a plan to replace half of those in 25 with this budget, and then half of those with FY26. So those will get replaced in July of 26. And again, that's all partially funded by E-rate. So whatever we submit or whatever we need, we get 40% off. The federal government pays 40% of that. And that is my total presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Neil. Any questions from the committee? Amy?
Thanks, Neil. You're always so thorough with these presentations, and I always have so many questions. But I would like to ask about security cameras specifically. What is your sense? I mean, I know you only just took them over very recently. What is your sense in terms of the age and the effectiveness of what we have now versus moving forward? I assume we're going to have to replace everything eventually, but are we having issues with images not being clear enough for actions to not be taken?
So honestly, there was 9 projects moving forward, and I think the plan that Mr. LeMay had put in place and the company that he uses is spot on. Okay. There's no issues. Actually, on Saturday we had a little issue, and I was speaking with Mrs. Often, and I was able to jump on the cameras, kind of see where things were, and so I don't see any issues with the security cameras moving forward.
Okay.
No. As long as we stick to kind of the plan that we have in place and what's been laid out in front of us.
I was not the security issue, just to
No,
be
you were.
clear.
I'm sorry.
I
didn't mean to leave that impression.
I was
Yeah.
breaking it. No, sorry. Go ahead, Amy. I know you had did you have other questions?
Yeah. What does Freckle do again? I forget.
It's an application that supports students, provides them. It's almost like Lexia is for reading, Freckle is for math.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's tied into the STAR.
Tied into STAR. So based on their assessments, it provides them activities and support student.
Okay, cool. I'm scrolling if somebody else wants to go.
Okay. Liz?
I think I can fill in. One of the things that I keep hearing from teachers year after year, especially in the middle school, is issues with the students not charging their Chromebooks. Has there been any thought to, I know we want to put this on the kids and we need to remind them, but as I keep hearing this from teachers and keep hearing that it's a problem, has there been any thought to providing some charging stations or power strips to the teachers so that, because one of the things that teachers are saying is we don't have outlets, so even if they bring their chargers, there's no place to plug them in.
Yeah.
thoughts
So
on
I've
that?
had a few conversations with teachers like that. One of the things that we did do this year when we collected all of the 8th grade Chromebooks, it's been difficult in years past because each model used a different power supply, but now devices are going to USB-C, and our 8th grade Chromebooks that we collected had USB power supplies, so we took those power supplies, divided them up between the 3 buildings, Millbury Street, North Street, and the middle school, and provided extra cables for the students. So one of the things that I've heard is that students are losing their power supply, so there's plenty of those. I haven't investigated or looking into power strips or charging stations. Certainly we can. I had the same conversations with teachers, and in some classrooms there's one or two functioning outlets in of course the worst place possible, either at the front of the classroom or just behind the teacher's desk where the computer and or the projector is plugged in. But that's
Okay.
certainly something that we could look at if it becomes a
Yeah.
major issue.
I know it should be on the students, but it's like, at the same time.
It's a
we-
hindrance. It's a
yeah, we don't
hindrance,
want them
especially
to
with everything now
whoops
being
and
on Schoology
not have it.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Amy, you wanna go back, or I can
Go
continue?
ahead. I'm still looking.
Okay. I was wondering, how much do Schoology and Power School speak to one another? I know we're sort of moving away from some of the functions that we had in Power School, and now it's more of a communication tool, and Schoology is really where parents are going for grades and things like that. But at the end of the year, everything needs to be, I think it's reconciled, or the grades end up in Power School.
So
do
Power
they
S-
speak to each other, or is that?
So Power School will always remain our grade book of record, right? That's where transcripts and report cards come from. Power School and Schoology speak to each other lots and lots of ways. So for example, we work, as I said before, we work all spring to get the scheduling done at the middle school and high school in Power School. Students are scheduled in Power School, teachers are scheduled in their classes in Power School. There's actually a day in August, and I can actually tell you when that is because we have a very defined timeline in summer. Every year we flip Power School into the new year on August 1st. That is a hard deadline. My first couple of years here, I would start hearing in March or April, when are we going to roll Power School? When are we going to roll Power School? People kind of wanted to plan around it for some reason. They wanted to either work in this year or work in next year. So we kind of said, we roll Power School on August 1st. If August 1st is a Saturday or Sunday, it happens that Monday. A week after, I actually flip a switch in Schoology, and all of the scheduling that happens in Power School and Schoology, Power School, migrates into Schoology, and all of the courses and all of the membership for those courses in Schoology happens automatically. So that's one way those two programs speak to each other kind of seamlessly. Also with the credentials for logging in, right? There's no separate username for Schoology. It is the student's Google account, which again is migrated from Power School. Grading is different, and there are some nuances to grading that has made it difficult in the past to sync grades from one to the other. So the decision was made to primarily have students and parents focus on the assignment grades that are happening in Schoology, and then teachers will either sync their grades, and they can do that through an automatic process, or manually enter their grades in Power School. That communication is a little bit more cumbersome because titles can't be too long. You can't have, where in Power School you could have Unit Quiz 1, Unit Quiz 2, Unit Quiz 3, you can't duplicate a title in Schoology, if that makes sense. So there are some nuances as to how they talk to each other relative to grades because of the intricacies of grading itself. So the process, I think, for most teachers at this point is manual at reporting time, entering their grades into Power School. A couple of years ago, Power School bought Schoology. Schoology was a standalone product at one point, but a few years ago they bought Schoology. We've been hoping, kind of keeping our fingers crossed, that would improve over time. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed since day one. Yeah, it's less than perfect, for sure.
Okay, all right. I have one more question, do you mind? Last year, I asked about cyber insurance. Is that anything that you've been looking into? Didn't see a line item for it, but is that something that you've
I have not
considered
looked
for this
into
year?
cyber insurance, but I do have a document that I created on security, both data privacy as well as security in the district. I purposely didn't include anything relative to security in our tech plan because I didn't want any of that to be searchable. But we do We do maintain an up-to-date firewall. Our firewall was replaced in 2021, along with the core switching. We also, we have a vendor that handles most of our networking called HubTech, and we subscribe to their monitoring service. So there's all sorts of threat protection there, but I have not looked into cyber insurance. I actually have a meeting with the town manager tomorrow. I can bring that up.
Pretty sure that is on the town side.
Yeah,
I
that's-
think
that's-
They're looking at, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
In most,
Okay,
in
yeah,
most
that's-
districts, it's the town that does that, and
Yeah.
I can speak
Okay.
with him tomorrow about that.
okay.
Yeah,
I not
but that's a
caught that.
good question.
Okay.
Amy, before you go again, can I just check in with Rebecca and see if you have any questions?
I'm okay.
Rebecca, Megan?
I just wanted to comment. I think with the whole issue between Power School and Schoology, from my experience and some other people I know, I think what's really hard for parents is that even though they know maybe the grades might be more accurate on Schoology, Power School is much more user friendly. Especially the app, like it's very easy for parents to open and just like see the grades. But then sometimes if a grade isn't really representative, it can cause stress and stuff. So
Sure,
yeah.
yeah.
And I know last year there was talk about teachers only syncing stuff in Power School like periodically, but I don't think all teachers follow that. I've noticed like some teachers might wait to sync stuff, some teachers sync it weekly or however often they feel. Or
Sure, yeah. I'll certainly have a conversation with Mr. Carney about what the policy is relative to syncing. And, you know, it's great that some teachers do it more often, right? 'Cause so the grades match, but there does have to be a minimum, you know, of when it's synced. One of the things that we are gonna do this year, one of the goals is to increase parent engagement through Power School and Schoology. So the tech department will have a table set up at both the middle school and high school for Power School and Schoology support for parents. So you'll see us at parent conferences, both during the day and in the evening sessions, to help parents with Power School and Schoology.
Excellent.
Comment.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
One of the instigators of my original question was really focusing on grades at the end of the year too, because I've heard of some where grades, and it's probably attributable to human error and because it is a manual process. That's why I was asking, where grades showed one thing in Schoology at the end of the year and then something else in Power School. So that's, you know.
Sure.
I guess
So
everyone,
I
you
was
know,
actually
needs to
I
check
was
and
actually a
make
fan
sure
of the
that- yeah.
syncing that we had been doing, and the reason I liked it is because with grading in both in Power School and Schoology, there's a setup, right? So a teacher assigns homework, and homework is 10% of the grade, and quizzes are 20%. There's some math involved there. If you set them both up in the system and you sync them over and everything matches, you know that you've set the systems up right, and they're almost checking each other. I'm sure in the past when we just used Power School before Schoology, there were probably errors in just the setup. You know, if a teacher didn't assign the right weighting to a grade based on what, you know, either the syllabus said or what the students, you know, thought, you know, there's human error there. And you have to set, unfortunately, the way the systems are designed, you have to set that up for every quarter and or semester, whether it's quarters, semesters, trimesters, that has to be manually set up for every class, and it's individual, right? So a teacher who might have, even if it's the same, you know, let's say English 10 class, one teacher's teaching, you know, 5 sections of English 10, every quarter, every semester, and the year has to be set up with the proper weighting that they use for their class in both systems. So we do provide a lot of support to teachers around that at the beginning of the year so that we can catch as much error up front as opposed to during reporting time.
I have nothing else.
Nothing else? Oh, okay. I feel like we built you up. I have one question. I really appreciated the information about AI. I like that the district isn't running from it and that we're being as proactive as we can with this changing technology. I don't think it's something we should be scared of. Many, and who knows by the time these kids get jobs, how it's gonna be out in the workplace, but as of now, many companies are using it and hoping to prepare for jobs that beyond what AI does now. So I know you said tomorrow you're focusing on that during
For the elementary schools.
the elementary
yeah.
school teachers, which I think might help with the uncomfortableness of it, I hope, with teachers. I guess my thought is, we haven't done any policies yet or anything, I think, surrounding AI, but if there's something that we can help out with or to work with, let us know. And are you providing teachers with additional resources on AI, on any kind of resources that will help them teach or help their students?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So last week, it was probably death by email from Neil. As I tried to collect survey responses, I wanted as large a sample as possible. We had 170 educators from all positions, whether it's a secretary, librarian, paraprofessional, or teacher, respond to that survey. And every time I sent out the survey, I sent out another resource. So the first time I sent out the survey, I sent out a link to Google Bard, which is Google's version of ChatGPT. Another time when I sent out the survey, the district leadership team has developed a position on AI, kind of that, cat's out of the bag, right? We're not going to run from it. Being at MassQ last week was very validating because there were 4,000 educators there all talking about how do we use AI and what do we have to teach kids to use it responsibly and ethically, right? And the first step to that is the comfort level of educators, right? If we can teach educators to use the tool themselves, validate the information that they're getting from those processors, from that AI, but use it to help make their lives easier. I think that's our first step. I did code.org, which a lot of our technology teachers use, has some great videos on AI, from 1.5 minutes to 23 minutes. So I sent out those resources as well. Tomorrow, our session is resource heavy. We'll look at some videos and some articles, but we're going to end our sessions tomorrow, and I don't know how many educators are already listening to this, and we'll kind of know what we're doing. But tomorrow we end our session with prompts for physical education teachers, prompts for special education teachers, prompts that nurses can use. I have made it a point to use AI every day, and I have found that if you've used it, I find that I'm getting better at prompting and having a conversation with the technology. I ask it a question, it gives me a response. I look at various responses, and I might ask the same question over again. And sometimes I pick and choose the information that it gives me, but we have to validate that information too. You have to know that information is correct, because it can be incorrect, and it also can be biased. So those are the kinds of things we have to work on. But our goal initially is to kind of showcase what it can do, how it can save you time, and here's ways that you can use it in your practice as an educator.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions from the committee? Follow up? Well, Neil, thank you as always for your terrific presentation, and we'll be seeing you again, I'm sure. So
You all, thank you for your support.
good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you. And next up, we're going to have a strategic plan update.
All right, so tonight I'm just going to provide an overview of the updates that we've been making to the strategic plan. As you know, we're trying to keep this as much a living document as possible. If something just doesn't fit or it's not accurate, we're not only changing it at the beginning of the year, but as the year goes on. Much of what I'm going to talk about is still in progress. That meeting with the district leadership team that I've been talking about is actually taking place this Thursday, but I've sent this electronically. We've gone back and forth between the directors and the principals, and I think we're in a pretty good place in terms of this plan reflecting what we're actually working on. What I'm going to provide an overview on is basically the most streamlined, stripped down version. We aim to keep it about 10 pages, but you may recall we're trying to avoid what many districts do when they put out a strategic plan of 100 pages, and it just sits there until it gets redone. So I think we've done pretty well with that. We are sticking with the 4 central pillars of instruction, well-being, connection, and infrastructure. I'm going to talk to just some of the highlights and the new pieces or modifications. So this year, we're going to be looking at different systems for housing our curriculum. That's the curriculum maps, all the resources. Currently, we use Atlas, which is a software system. It's considered a very good system. Some districts are shifting over to the Google platform. So obviously the cost is great. Oftentimes it's just free. The problem is it's very labor intensive, and we are definitely stretched thin already. So we're trying to weigh out what the best course of action is for us. Jen Manion, our director of curriculum, is going to be presenting at the next meeting. I'm sure she'll talk about that. With that, a new curriculum review process and timeline. This is something we are wrestling with, as I don't know of a district that's not, if you go back a decade, even 5 years, most districts have a very slow-moving, very methodical curriculum process in place. They meet on a subject area, maybe 4 times a year, and maybe once over the summer. But it's just set up to take in a lot of input. The curriculum is robust pre-K through 12. It just takes too long. By the time that gets through all of the curriculum we have, it's all kind of outdated. So we've been working to figure out a way to make that process still include a lot of voice, being parents, staff, administration, students at the secondary level. How can we do that in a way that's meaningful and in depth, but also timely? And that's a good challenge and something we're wrestling with. Nicole McDonald and I, over the next 3 months, are going to be assessing where we stand in terms of co-teaching. So that will, with any of our assessments, include research, a look at best practices, an assessment of basically what's working well for us, what isn't working well, and action steps for improving. I think we do a lot of things exceptionally well in the area of co-teaching, but I'm very confident we can do even better. In the next month, we're going to be rolling out a pilot for a new professional development system. So we're currently right now very limited in what we have in terms of time for professional development. We have the full day, but that's right before the first day of school. That's not a great PD time. It never is, never has been, never will be. And then we have the 5 half days, but when you really look at that, that's about 3 hours, and it's the end of a half day on a Wednesday, and we do really well with it. We've got one tomorrow. We've got great plans for it, but you can only do so much with 3 hours 5 times a week. 5 times a year. So we're going to be looking at utilizing Title II monies to have a system where it's going to be synchronous, but more virtual than in person and outside of the contractual day. So there's going to be more information on that coming up. We haven't rolled it out yet. We're going to continue to build on writing. All of that discussion about AI is definitely going to intersect with the work that we're doing with writing. K-12, Tracy Kalo started last year, and it's moved over to this year, or extended into this year. UDL, Universal Design of Learning. I think one of our presenters, if it wasn't Tracy, spoke to that. The focus has been on 7 through 12. This is year 2 of that. This will be the final year of PD focus on that, and then we'll be shifting to K-6. So it will look a little different, but at its core, it's very similar. And then lastly, standardizing the student study team process. So when a student is struggling in any way, we've got a process in place at each of our schools. They're much more aligned than they used to be, but we want to take that final step and take the best practices, the most effective pieces from at each level, and make them more standardized and more consistent. In terms of well-being, a big shift for us in this area comes from the changes we made administratively at the end of last year. Roseanne Kerposka Made her a co-principal at North Street Elementary School. She's now in that split role where she's about 60% co-principal, the other maybe 30-40% in tandem. She's working as our SEL director, social emotional learning. Now, we've never had any one person be that hub, that point person for SEL in the past, and it's already made a big difference. I didn't actually expect it to. The directive was to essentially knock the co-principal thing out of the park for the first few months, get your feet really well set, and then anything you can do around SEL, that's just a bonus. But she's already really just done a fantastic job. With that, we've increased social emotional training and programming. We're working, Roseanne, one of her main tasks is to take stock of everything that we are already doing, and we're doing a lot of things really well, but coordinating that pre-K through 12, which we didn't have before. Not next meeting, but the meeting after, Roseanne will be here, and she will present a report on SEL. Tied to that is an expansion of our support systems. That's largely Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, trying to continuously build on wraparound services. So we can provide service during the school day, but so many families need services outside of 2:30 or 3 o'clock. And they've been a fantastic partner with us. So we've continued to build on that. Another partnership is Worcester Health Alliance. I talked a little bit about that last time we met. Maybe a week and a half ago, the leadership from the Worcester Health Alliance met with myself, the superintendent from Shrewsbury, and the superintendent from Worcester. And we're trying to essentially reset and how can we utilize their resources, their staffing, their experience with different campaigns and support of schools. How can we better coordinate use of what they bring to the table? That was the purpose. I thought it was a great meeting. We're going to be putting out a wellness newsletter that's going to be going out through Mandy with probably some input from Roseanne. And we're going to be building up programming for staff around wellness. We're already working to further expand our robust PBIS training. So behavioral training, we just last week sent a team from South Grafton and North Grafton Elementary. This is something I think we stand out among districts in our ability to address proactively behavioral needs in our schools. So I really appreciate that Nicole doesn't take that for granted, and we're continuously building on it. So that's a train the trainer model, and it's worked really well for us. And then lastly, with well-being, I thought last year was probably the best we've done in terms of transitions between schools. That was something that we've talked about in the past. The principals did a really nice job with it. This year, I'll be interested to see what our new middle school principal wants to do. Even before he started the school year, he was talking about opportunities to get into North Street and Millbury Street to start getting to really know what the sixth graders as they make that critical jump from sixth grade to seventh grade. Connection, I'll be putting out bi-weekly GPS updates. I've got one going out Thursday or Friday this week, just to try to, again, just have that constant communication with staff, try to build up those connections, that paired with regular visits to schools. It's still never enough. I was in North Street and Millbury Street for like 3 hours today and still didn't get to every classroom, et cetera. But with Jen Mannion, with Mandy Lape, pushing to get into schools as much as possible. I would hope that if we can do it really consistently, it's going to certainly help. I'm going to be putting out that qualitative survey regarding connection. That ties into my goals that I spoke about last time. And lastly, again, we're going to have a report, much like the co-teaching report, regarding student-staff connection, best practices, research, not just our best thinking, but what's out there, even nationally, could be worldwide. What are schools doing that works exceptionally well, and how can we replicate that? So I'll be doing that in conjunction with Mandy Lape. Last but definitely not least, infrastructure. I'm working on a new 5-year capital plan, taking the basics format that we used in past years before we made the jump to ClearGov, Not keeping the exact same setup, but it will look very similar, where we will have basically a 5-year plan laid out on one piece of paper, break it down by, or one spreadsheet, break it down by fiscal year, and then each project have photos, have some details, have estimates, cost estimates with that. So we've been working on that. It's scheduled right now to be presented to you November 7th. So I'm sticking with that, but that's pretty aggressive. I can't say enough about Frank Rothwell and Shauna Carlson. They have, that's the director of operations and assistant director. They put in a new ticketing system that mirrors our technology ticketing system that's really well developed. Just since the beginning of the year, they have completed over 200 tickets, and people are seeing it, they're feeling the difference. We finally filled a couple positions in the maintenance department that we'd actually hired, and then people left, so we had some voids there. So we're fully staffed, and they are just doing a wonderful job. Obviously, you heard from Neil about the tech plan and integration of tech. Every one of our schools, at the end of last year, we completed brand new emergency response plans. What we're working on this year is better support from the central office, better support of those plans. So if we were to have a fire or an incident at a school, we know what we're doing at that school, but how does the central office respond in terms of that combination of being on site, working with the police, and most importantly, probably communicating out to parents. It's one thing for a school to have a great communication plan, but 99 times out of 100, if there's an emergency, they're going to be outside of the school. I think back to when we had that fire at South Grafton Elementary. Everybody was over in the church on a brutally cold day. And at the time, we didn't have laptops, we didn't have connectivity. It all worked, but we want to be very, very well prepared for that. So we've been meeting about that, doing some tabletop exercises, trying to just be ready. If somebody's out of district, for example, be it sick, at a conference, what have you, do we have layers of backup? We've talked about the new budget book, so we'll still be participating in ClearGov, both in capital and with budget, but we want to go back to having our own centralized books for both. And lastly, we are piloting a paperless purchase order system. Everything that we do now works exceptionally well, but it's largely paper-based in 2023. We've already, at the start of, I guess it was August, we have been piloting initially paperless with our maintenance and custodial departments and all those supplies. So over time, we're going to be looking to expand that. And I think that's everything.
Great. Thank you so much. Questions from the committee? Liz?
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit more about the ticketing system? Is that something that teachers can access when they have maintenance issues, or who has
Nope.
access to that to be able to submit tickets?
That would go through, so staff may have view only, but we want any needs to go through either the principal or ideally the lead custodian, like the day custodian. Meaning, so basically what we don't want is somebody has an issue with heat in their room. They go to they go to the website, they put in the ticket, which is really easy to do. Somebody shows up from maintenance or from an outside company doing work. What they do when they enter the building is they go to the lead custodian. If that lead custodian doesn't know the room, the situation, et cetera, we're kind of doomed. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, if you think of it, just let me know. Anybody else?
I have a comment on the well-being piece, and this is not that I don't think it's something that we all want, but there's a lot of language around identifying students who have needs, and I would argue to some extent all students have needs at some point. So just sort of making sure that those resources are not just accessible, but sort of like built in constantly for students in a way that, you know, I mean, I know when I was in middle school, it's like you're great one day and the next day you are not so
Sure.
great. Like it's
Oh,
tough.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's my only statement.
Anybody else? All right.
right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You want to go right into your, let's see, let me check the old agenda. Oh, we're not ready for your superintendent report.
All right.
Do you want to?
Come back.
All right. I'm going to
You
come
want me
back.
to just do it?
Yeah, why don't, do you
I
guys
only have
mind
one,
if he just
I only have
doesn't?
one thing.
You have one thing?
One thing.
Okay.
Sure,
You
I'm
have
missing
only
a bunch,
one
but-
thing.
I didn't see it picked up in the news yet, but
Yeah.
will be, probably
Yeah.
tomorrow. So DESE, this morning, announced a new initiative around chronic absenteeism. We've talked about it to some degree here
Yeah.
over the past couple years. So it's an issue here, but what the commissioner spoke to today, it's an issue literally everywhere, not just in Massachusetts, everywhere. Everyone's seeing the same basic pattern that I'm about to show you. So at the Board of Ed meeting this morning, we talked about it. They're going to move away from, this was historically the meeting where they would announce the X number of schools that were failing and that had really high absenteeism, and basically said, we're not doing that. We need a call to action, and that call to action is going to go to the families and certainly schools. But schools, much like us, are somewhat, our hands are tied a little bit, and that's been frustrating, and I can certainly speak to that. So when we had an initial meeting last week between the commissioner and superintendents, I thought this was fantastic news. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play out, but it's one of the more frustrating and challenging issues that we wrestle with. So they outlined the statewide pattern. Interestingly, we haven't really seen this, and I'll show you that in a second. Statewide, it's been most pronounced by far at the elementary level, where we are seeing it more at the secondary level. And this initiative is going to be tied to state funding. I don't know what that got me excited. I think that's fantastic. Additional state funding, I should say, not existing. I could see the concerned looks. Huh. So additional funding. I don't know if that's staffing. I don't know if that's additional time. I don't know what that looks like yet. And at least based on that one conversation, it would be across the board like entitlement grants as opposed to competitive, which we could. Oftentimes we see grants, people send me grants that say, apply for this, it's for a pot of $2 million. But I get it, we can apply, but in the end, it's the urban settings that get the $2 million. And I understand that. This would be more across the board for all districts. So I thought that was potentially fantastic. Statewide, since 2019, there's been an increase of 72% in terms of chronic absenteeism. That's defined as any student missing 10% of the school year, so 18 days or more of the school year. So you can see why they're making this a very significant initiative. So what I did, and just to give this some context, I don't believe he's released it yet, but in that initial conversation, a series of slides were used. One of the slides gave the state numbers that mirrors this. So I saw this, and ideally, if they had released it, and they hadn't as of this afternoon, I was going to show the state numbers and then show where we are. That pattern it's red up top, that's what the whole state looks like, and that's what elementary looked like. So ours, and they used 14-15, and then 2021, then 22-23. So that's where we were about 6.5. This isn't exact, but it's very close. About 6.5% chronic absenteeism. So we were doing, okay, you'd like it to be 0, but 6.5%. In that top line, which is dark red. In 2021, jumped up to 28.4% for secondary, so 7 through 12, and just, barely went up at all with elementary, which is kind of remarkable. Yet we've seen when we jumped to last school year, elementary jumped up, so an overall increase from 2014 of about 69%. And we've decreased, but you see that it's still is like 230% higher than it was in 2014, 2015. And they're seeing that across the board. So that's where we stand now. The biggest issue is obviously addressing those numbers. And that includes everybody. So that could be the student who, had surgery, was super sick and was out for 18 days. This doesn't delineate. In a lot of districts, many students from families, especially Brazil, will go away for winter months, unenroll, sometimes not enroll, so some of that is captured in there. But that's where we stand as of the end of last year. They're going to put out, if they haven't already, this afternoon or evening, they were going to put out the most updated numbers for all the districts. But I worked with Jamie Cardinal from the tech department, and we looked at the SIMS data, so state data. So I'm pretty confident that these numbers are awfully close, if not dead on. So among the challenges, the students, I've done home visits, Kevin Carney's done home visits, our counselors have done home visits, but we don't have anyone dedicated on a daily basis, like a truancy officer almost, to go out and talk to families, talk to kids, et cetera. You pull a principal out for a couple hours in the morning, it's not a waste, it's just, we don't have any backfill there. So people are covering, their principals are often covering classes, lunch duties, just trying to hold it all together. So it's super hard to really feel like you can attack the problem without any resources. That's obviously magnified tenfold at Worcester, and they do have people dedicated to it, but their numbers are super high too. So I'm sure they feel the exact same way. And I think that's all I have on this. So I'm hoping in 2 weeks just to be able to, I should have a lot more information about the nuts and bolts of the actual initiative and what that may mean for us. But right now I'm optimistic.
Okay, any questions, thoughts? Amy?
Is this, so this is straight up absenteeism, not early dismissals, correct?
Correct.
Because I've heard that that's a problem as well, that we have a lot of students that go home in the middle of the day for a variety of reasons, not that they're sick, that they're avoiding classes or they're avoiding people. And you can kind of file that under some mental health umbrella, I'm sure, in some respects. But there's constant comings and goings.
Oh yeah. No, that's
and I don't know
definitely
if
true.
that's something DESI's even looking at.
No, I don't believe, I can say with, I think a high degree of certainty that they're not.
Okay.
They might be behind the scenes, but we don't report out on that.
So I have one more.
Of course.
So in the discussion with DESI, I missed the meeting this morning, I usually try to watch, but, did they come up with any sort of like an advertising campaign or something to kind of target parents and families?
I
To let
didn't
them know
watch,
how important it is to be in school?
I didn't watch it this morning.
Okay.
But I saw the materials, they were presented at the end of last week. A huge part of the campaign is just that.
Okay, good.
I don't know.
Because I know they have the money, and I just feel like,
See it,
rather
but
than,
what that
entitlement
will
grants are
look
great,
like.
but help us solve the problem with that money. Don't, on the back end is nice too, but I just feel like they need to be more proactive with it and help.
I will be shocked if, that was the talk. I just haven't seen the materials.
All right, well, I'll have to look.
Liz?
Thank you.
It's not really a question, but
Yeah.
are we
I think
open
we
up
can
for
discuss,
discussion?
sure.
Okay. First of all, I would say I bet there's few parents out there that don't know it's important to go to school, that their kids are going to school, but I'm not surprised at all at the numbers here. And I've said this before, but I'm really optimistic that these numbers will go down this year because, as was talked about at the end of last academic year, there's going to be a lot more enforcement going on this year. When we were heading into COVID, when we were dealing with COVID, we kind of let up on sending the letters home, and we had different policies in place regarding the number of absences that were, I don't want to say allowed, but were permitted without sending home those letters and things like that. And we understood that kids were probably going to miss more school. And I felt like as that was going on, we sort of got into this culture that, okay, one, we're saying stay home from school when you're sick. Stay home from school when you're sick. You need to stay home and protect others, protect yourself. Whereas I think pre-COVID, there was a little bit more of a push to get kids out the door when they were sick. Oh, you don't have a fever, you're fine. Let's go. And I felt like we kept sending that message home and sending it home to parents too, saying, please, keep your kids home. And then we go back and then we say, okay, yes, there's a lot of absences, but I think that might be part of it, where they're more prone to keep kids home when they're sick. And I think we need to, I'd be interested to see, and I would predict that over time, as we become, we get further away from that, and we, start to enforce the rules about tardies and absenteeism and things like that a little bit more, that those numbers would go down. That's not to say that there's other things going on too. It probably compounds the problem with some of the stress and things that kids are also dealing with. And I think we're seeing that also because we're seeing higher levels at the high school and middle school. Was it high school and middle school, right?
Correct.
Combined, versus the elementary. I don't know. I'm curious as to why the numbers went up in elementary. I mean, could just be a little more illness going around. I have no idea, but I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. I'd be interested to see, now that things seem to be enforced a little bit more and we get away from that it sort of resolves itself a little bit. As I don't know, I guess I'm just not as, I mean, obviously kids need to be in school, but I think we sort of, I don't know, it's just a circumstance of the last few years that they've been through.
Well, if I
And
can,
we're getting away from that now, but.
one of the things that I've noticed just from being on social media is after the travel bans were lifted, we had a ton of kids going out on vacations, a lot, and that has not ebbed. There are kids going to Disney World all different times a year now, whereas I think, and it's not the fault of the district, it's not anything we're not doing, but I think the focus on mental health has led some parents to say, you know what, the kids have lost so much, we weren't able to go do things, now let's go do all the things, and let's not be limited by the school year. I do think that is a factor, it's not the only one. But, I see it all the time. Kids are being pulled out for trips in the middle of the year, whereas I feel like a few years ago, we wouldn't have seen as many going on. And they are discouraged from doing it, but they're doing it anyway at all levels.
Do you think it's hard to tell, though, that you're just seeing it more now because it's on social media versus just
I've talked to some parents and I've asked them,
about it?
Why didn't you wait for a vacation? And, oh, it's too expensive, or we couldn't get a flight, or,
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
But that's a reason. Mental health is a reason, for sure. Being actually sick is a reason. But
Rebecca, I know you've been trying
I
to
know,
say
but-
something.
Is it possible to, just within our district, delineate a little bit, like which ones of these are sick kids. Because I mean, 18 days sounds like a lot, but in a whole year, if you did get COVID and you stayed home for a week, that's 5. And, you know, I mean, it's not a ton of days. And I feel like it is probably a good chunk of these that are legitimate reasons. And I would also be really interested, and I don't know if there would be a way to do it, but to track some of are these kids, like the kids with chronic absenteeism, are they also showing declines in academic performance? Because I know parents that I do talk to that pull their kids out, they're like, but my kid is doing fine and can catch up. And not that that's a good reason, but if we're saying the reason you need to be in school is because you lose out on all these things, and if parents are making a conscious choice and their kids are not doing worse, this may not be the most popular opinion, but I really feel like it's a beautiful thing that happened from COVID that we do stay home when we're sick. Like, I don't want to get sick from my colleagues. I don't like it when people are coughing next to me. So I don't want to discourage that either. But I want to make sure that we're fighting a battle for the right reasons, or like, you know, what parts we're fighting.
I agree. I mean, I think we're all taking antidotes. We're thinking without data.
Right.
I know from my own work across the country, it's a big problem. It's a variety of things. It's mental health. It's people are being more conscious what they should be. You know, if you take your kids out for a week, like I think 5 days, like, you know, like you have to look at the child.
Right.
I think I listened to a report tonight before I came here where they were reporting on the commissioner's statement on this, and a lot of it was lower income families where we might want to look at that, like where school isn't as important to them. They don't know sometimes, not depending on your culture, depending on where you're coming from. So I think I don't want to just wait for the state. I think we could probably do things in Grafton. I know, Amy, the high school has cracked down on early release. I know from my own personal, I forgot to send in a note. We had an appointment. I sent an email and I got, I got not a hand slap. She was very nice to me. She's like, Laura, it's been on the website, the new policy. I was very embarrassed, but it was a legit doctor's appointment. And she's like, we're not accepting midday. Like, I mean, I don't know what they'll do if I show up and try to pull my kid out, but you know, so she was, and I was like, oops, okay. So, I mean, I do think we're making an effort. I think there's a lot that goes into this, and we can sit and think about it all day, and we're all coming, I think, from a place of privilege, I think, on who we are and who our kids are. So it's hard to really jump in and say why, but we know it's a problem. I was concerned because I don't want, they're gonna throw money on it, and I guess listening to Amy, I thought Amy's thoughts were so good about the marketing campaign behind it. I thought, okay, we're going to go back to truant officers, which maybe I don't understand what a truant officer really does, but growing up, to me, they were somebody you were afraid of. Oh, yeah. So I was like, is that, like, I would be curious. I'm not as optimistic because I feel like a lot of times the state doesn't help and then expects, and he was like, by next year, I want to see results. So I'm curious. But maybe it is thinking on our end, we could come up with, maybe start emphasizing it more in the newsletters, which I think they have been, but just be cool, stay in school, come to school, whatever the hell it is.
And as we move along, I'm obviously going to get more, I was trying to get ahead of Desi, but this is just an initial conversation, but
Right.
we're obviously not taking into account the wide spectrum of what chronic absenteeism is. I think probably in our heads, we're thinking of that kid that's got 18, 19, was sick, and they went to Disney and got sick again. But we have kids that in the course of a year, we're talking 40, 50 plus days. Like, that's not, that, believe me, that parent knows that he or she should help get the kid to school, and it's been going on for a long time, and they've talked to the guidance counselor 8 million times, but then that's where we're really stuck.
Yeah.
But the other stuff we can do, and
Right.
I think it can only help.
Yeah, no, and that's
That
my
kid
concern,
getting-
and to me, that's mental health, that's anxiety, that's me
And people
with no
think
information.
if you
Yeah,
go
we
with
don't, I think.
With
I think
no
we need-
information.
Yeah, I
Need
think
more
that's the
information.
thing, is we need, it'd be so helpful to have more information about, we're just, like you said, we're kind of making assumptions based
Sure.
on social
Sure.
media and our, own experiences and talking to people and things like this, but we don't really know. how much of it is attributable to mental health issues? How much of it is attributable to parents making the decision for their family to go visit relatives in Brazil, or things like that? Or how much of it is just there's some kids with chronic illnesses who happen to miss a lot of school, and
Right.
I think we also need to figure out how to, and I think we've talked about this when I think it was the high school principals visited. We talked about how to support those kids who do have to be out, and making sure that they're not falling behind if for the kids who are, sick and missing school. I think that's my concern, more than, I don't know, trying to put a stop to it, because there's some things that you just can't help. There's some things that are just going to happen. But it would be interesting to know really what the percentages are and what's going on.
So thank you so much for putting this together so quickly, since it just came out today. And obviously we're passionate about it and it's important. So we'll look forward to learning more and doing what we can do. So you said you had one thing that was like
One little thing.
That was
if
pretty
you
big.
say.
pretty
Excited about
big. Megan, I think our MASC resolutions might take a little bit. I don't know what your time frame is, but if you want to go ahead and do your student report now,
Okay.
I think that would be great. If you have one.
I do. Let me pull up the notes. So I was gonna mention the half day tomorrow, but that was covered a couple times. So, the trunk or treat through the NHS, that was this weekend. It was originally Saturday, but it got rescheduled to Sunday. But that went well. The cross country team, they had their Swickle event and they placed second. There's a craft fair Saturday, November 18th.
Where?
I think it's in the Commons, but I have to double check.
In the commons and in the gym, so
Nice.
taking up full
Big.
space. There'll be over 40 vendors and food trucks and all sorts of good things.
Yeah, that's exciting. There's the parent teacher conferences sign up, which is online and it opens on Monday, October 23rd at 8 a.m. And then the costume concert is tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the auditorium, I think. Yeah.
Great report. I love that you encompassed all different things. So thank you, Megan. Great addition. Great addition to the team. You are welcome to stay, but if you need to go, we understand.
All right. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
No one's ever stayed through that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is exciting stuff to us, but it's really kind of wonky and,
Thanks, man.
so we are, I'd actually like to flip the order of the delegate for the resolutions, because I feel like it would be helpful to know who our delegate was before we went through the resolutions, because if we have any amendments, I don't know, I feel like that would be helpful. So, Rebecca, not to call you out, but Liz and Amy have both done it before and they know what it is, but this is at the conference. I
Oh.
believe it's the Wednesday afternoon. It's so, you'd have to be able to be, whoever is going has to be there on Wednesday. It's usually a few hours, and it's like a giant town meeting where they discuss the resolutions. The resolutions were put together by legislative committees of our peers throughout MASC. They've been presented, as you can see, by certain committees, school committees. And basically, this is what MASC, our advocacy group, is going to push for legislation. Sometimes it takes years and years. Sometimes they go nowhere. A good example, my very first year on the committee, they were pushing for the millionaire tax. So it took about 9 years. We got it, partially because of the work, Student Opportunity Act, many different things. Some I've never heard of again. And then tonight we just discussed kind of how Grafton feels about it. Are we in agreement or do we have questions? And then who's ever the delegate will vote the way the committee votes. But then they also have kind of, we give them the right if they, amendments come up or if they, we kind of trust them to make the best decision. So, does anybody want to volunteer to be our delegate for the conference? This is kind
I
of,
did it last year, and I haven't signed up yet because I'm not 100% if I can go. So
Okay.
I'm going to respectfully.
okay. Amy,
Ask
Rebecca, I
not
know,
to
Amy, you did it, but you did it online.
Yeah,
So
we
I
don't
didn't feel,
talk about that anymore.
I know, but you feel like you had a bad decision, a bad, not decision, a bad,
It was terrible. It
Yeah.
was on Zoom because it was during COVID, and it was all.
it's not usually all day.
Like, it was just because it was
sounds so
Zoom and it was
fun.
new, and like I was like my
Can't
husband was
imagine.
bringing me food. It was I mean I've seen it in progress, and it's a great meeting. It's a great experience.
Last year I did it, and it was really fun. We were
Sponsored.
sponsoring. We were one of the sponsors of one of the resolutions too. So I got to do a little speaking, and it's fun because people will stand up and they'll have questions. You'll have to you could respond whether you're sponsoring it or not. But people, they get debated, in the room, and it is kind of
Yeah.
kind of fun. And I don't think mine was. It was like a few hours.
It's
It wasn't
not normally as
it
bad as
wasn't
poor Amy
bad.
had it.
Yeah.
No, gosh, I didn't want to scare you.
No,
I mean,
but
I'm
I-
happy to do it because I'll be there. But if Rebecca wants to do it, I think it would be a great experience for her.
Okay.
I'm happy to do it.
Excellent. Well, how about this? We have to vote, but I would recommend not making a motion that Rebecca be our nominee and backup be Amy. I mean, I'll be there too, but
Yeah.
I
'Cause we
do
have to
enough.
submit 2 names. Do
We
not?
do.
Okay.
We do.
perfect.
So,
You said recommend not making a motion?
well, I'm not making a motion because I can't.
You.
But I would just possibly,
I would
I would
hint
possibly,
around.
ask the committee, yeah.
So, I heard.
I said
just
so
stepping
moved, but
through,
kind of
I
as a
heard
joke.
Amy make, oh, you did?
I said so moved. but-
I move, okay,
Yeah.
well then, for the record.
Our
I
poor
move
secretary.
that, we nominate, Rebecca Soko as our delegate with Amy Myers backup.
Second.
Great. Motion been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Congratulations. I'll fill out the paperwork tomorrow and get that all set for you. And then when you get in, you get a little badge that says delegate.
Special.
Which is pretty cool.
Now you're jealous.
Yeah, you get a big,
No,
You
you're
probably
not-
didn't
I
get
didn't
that.
get a badge.
You probably
No.
didn't get that. Now you're regretting everything.
Next year, next year.
Maybe next year. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe I'll
It is
share
a
mine.
long,
you'd have a better experience.
there, I know, you do need to have a better, because I feel like it's so up Amy's alley too. Because it's like, no, she's shaking her head. All right.
Can I ask a question? Oh, no, we can't. There's a panel session during that time. Are we allowed to sit in if we're not the delegate?
100%.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
And I want to
can,
go to, then I'll go sit.
you can go.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
I
never.
mean, I might
but-
want to sit in on Medicaid funding mattering to schools.
Okay.
Yeah. it's-
Yeah, Rebecca
it's
can text,
interesting.
like last year Liz was like texting us updates. It's pretty, I mean, it's fun. I did it, it was a Saturday morning, which, so I
that's
didn't
tough.
have the,
Go ahead.
yeah, but it was in person at least. And well, it was a Saturday morning. I had a bagel.
There will be food.
There won't be food, no.
I will bring my food.
Bring your food. Okay, so now we can do this a couple different ways. We can go do kind of like a hold method and vote if somebody has any concerns about them, or we can go one by one. Does anybody initially have any thoughts?
I have no issue with voting on them as a group, unless anyone else would like to pull one of them out.
I don't. I had a comment on. There was one that I was. So I can't believe I'm bringing it up, but that obviously, if anybody knows me, I'm very for the safe storage of firearms. It seems like a very interesting thing for us to be like
Agreed.
sending out an email from the principal. But I'm not going. There's no way I'm going to vote against it because I'm totally in favor of that. I just thought it was an
Little out of your
interesting,
lane,
like
yeah.
I was a little like, oh, that's a little out of, but maybe it isn't.
I did, sorry, were you done?
No, I'm done.
I did, that was the one that made me think too, and I felt the same way, because obviously, support gun control and safety in our schools and all those things. It was just the bit about urging the superintendent to send out the messages to make sure that parents keep their guns safe and all that stuff, and so I was sort of discussing this, and I guess I came around to the logic that, well, it's one of the ways we are keeping the guns out of schools. Like, if we're encouraging people to keep their guns locked up, then it helps to keep the kids safe. Because I was trying to find that link, that link back, because we don't want to be in the business of telling parents what to do in their homes, and but that tie-in sort of sold me on it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's
Yeah.
no way I would ever vote against it, and I kind of thought the same, but I don't know. And then, let's see, there was one other, the only other one, again, totally in favor of, but they're advising for resolution for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Obviously, a passion of ours, something we've done a lot of work, but they're adopting the position of a DEI coordinator in each school, which is a funding issue and also a employment issue. So you have to be able to hire somebody, which again, like, I'm all for. I think it's great. I just think coming down the line, if we're getting like a mandate, you have to have a DEI coordinator. We can't hire one, number one, or we can't. Like, how are we gonna pay for it? That might be the only one I would want to amend. Like, is the state gonna fund this?
Right.
Or something? I don't,
I had
that
the
was the
same-
only one that I just was like, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I guess where I landed on it is that, first of all, that can be a shared position. And I actually went to a session last year about sharing a DEI coordinator amongst districts and how that can work. Even not being in a regional district, like a
Like with
collaborative.
Millbury or
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah, because, some districts are gonna have more work to do than others, right? So if we shared a DEI coordinator, for example, with, Millbury and Shrewsbury, we all have different needs in that area. And so one person could jump around and address different needs at different schools at different times. But the other thing I landed on with that is that it's just a recommendation.
Yeah,
It's
it
not,
is.
it's a
not a
big difference
mandate.
between DESI telling us we have to do it and not giving us any money for it.
Yeah.
I think if they went further with that, then I would be opposed to it, because I don't like unfunded mandates. But I agree, I read that and I'm like, now they want us to have a new position, like, we have all these positions already, like, what are we gonna do? But I think a recommendation is fine, as long as everybody understands that's what it is.
Yeah.
Which is what all these are. Yeah, you're right. That's a good
I agree.
point.
That's where I landed on it with the word recommends, and remembering the discussions from the debates last year. When it came down to language like that, it was much softer, and it's just a recommendation. It's just something that if you can do it, great. But yeah, they're not trying to get the state to institute any sort of mandate. So
The only
I
other,
was fine with that.
oh, sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
that's it.
I had another comment,
Yeah.
but about Resolution 7, related to the MCAS.
Yeah.
The only, and, I'm sure you guys are aware, but I wanted to kind of say it for the record, that there is a bill, it's currently with the Joint Education Committee of both the House and the Senate in the Commonwealth. There was a hearing earlier this month, I'm waiting for the recording. But basically, a lot of the things that are in this resolution would be taken care of by the Thrive Act if it were to pass, which it's anybody's guess how long that's gonna take. The only thing I objected to here was the immediate moratorium on MCAS testing, because that puts us in danger when it comes to federal funding. The federal government requires us to administer a statewide assessment. And if we put a moratorium on the MCAS testing, that puts us at risk of receiving no money from the Department of Education for the state. Everything else, I totally agree with, but that one to me was like, danger, Will Robinson, like, we can't actually do that. We could put a moratorium on the graduation requirement right now, but we can't say we're not gonna do MCAS at all this year because we don't like it.
No, we won't want to.
I wish we could, but
Well,
unfortunately.
we could, but there would be
Consequences.
There would be consequences, and I think they
right.
could be pretty severe for some districts.
100%.
Yeah.
But everything else I supported.
I agree with that.
Me too. So,
Maybe somebody will make a motion to amend to remove that line, I don't know.
yeah.
And you could do that, Rebecca, if you wanted to.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't, yeah.
If you don't, I think we're all, you know.
think not, is that what you said?
No, I'm taking notes.
She can't wait. And by the time, 7, you might, and I'm sure people are pretty, I'm sure we wouldn't be the only one, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you'll see, by the time they're at 7, I think this is where you were leading, you'll see, other people might make amendments, and you'll see how it's done. It's pretty.
Yeah, okay.
It's,
And you
it's
also
not-
know
it's
who the
not
spicy
intimidating.
people are in the room.
That's fun.
Oh, they're all, oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're there with me, I'll know it's you already.
Oh, no.
It's definitely not
You have
Amy.
no idea.
Oh, I'm excited.
There are people that will come up and they will make objections to everything.
No, that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
or they've been told to vote no on everything. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. This, I mean, like, I can't believe the two that I even had issues with. They're like the two things I'm most passionate about in life, so.
But it's the wording. Like
It's-
last year,
it's
I
all
had an
about the
issue
wording.
with an environmental resolution.
Right.
But it's obviously I'm
Right.
passionate about supporting, improving the environment. But it was the wording. So
Yeah.
Is that the school buses, the electric school
That was
buses?
2 years ago.
oh,
I
was it
think.
2 years?
Oh, 2 years ago.
Yeah, and where's that? Like,
There's a session on it.
I
It's on the
know.
schedule.
I know, I saw that. I'm not going. I don't think, maybe you can go. All right, so any other thoughts? And then maybe we can just go through this quicker than I thought it would be.
Madam
Nothing
Chair.
else.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, Amy?
I move the committee adopt the full slate of resolutions for the MISC 2023 conference. Maybe adopt is the wrong verb, but
Support.
I moved to support.
there you go. So amended.
Second.
All right, motion made and amended and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye, awesome, terrific. And great work to the Resolutions Committee. It's a great group of people on that committee, and they really work hard. And MASC does great work trying to advocate for our students, and we're very fortunate to be a part of that organization, and I'm excited that most of us will be able to attend the conference. We'll see each other before then, though, because we have one more meeting.
Can at least go like
Yeah.
Friday to Saturday.
Well, I know, you've got
Starting
lot
a new
going
job
on.
on Monday,
Yeah,
so I kind of have to see.
I think it's
yeah.
okay. You do what you need to do. You've been before, you get it.
Yeah.
Let's see, we did superintendent, wow, moving along. Oh, future agenda schedule planning. So it's now come up twice. We kind of just voted for that resolution. Do we want to put an MCAS discussion if we're gonna make a public statement and advocate for it? I guess that was the wrong question. Do we wanna talk about doing that at a next meeting?
I think it's come up enough that it would be good to
Yeah, I'd like to get
see
it on
if
the
we wanna
agenda.
Write a letter or
Yeah.
where we stand as a
Right.
committee. I think
Yeah,
would be good.
I feel like I sort of just got a feel, but yeah, why don't we do that for the 7th? We'll just put that on, and it'll be like we've done in the past, and, you know, Amy's been working really hard, maybe she can write the letter. But if not, we'll just so we can have it. I mean, Mr. Stevens came, and that was a valid question, and,
If he's asking, other people are asking.
yeah, absolutely. And if he's asking enough to come to a meeting and ask,
Yeah.
so I'll let him know that we're gonna talk about it at our next meeting. Anything else? We're gonna have Jen Mannion come. We'll talk about the special education budget, which we didn't do last meeting, and capital plan possibly. That was very zealous.
Well, if we have to push that, we have the MCAS discussion now, so that might take up the time.
Yeah, it might, yeah. I try to keep our meetings relatively. Okay, anything else that you see that we're missing or you'd want to add?
So
Okay, all right, thank you. Minutes. So we have our new minutes by Rebecca, which she had 2 sets. They just went in this morning, so I wanted to throw it out if people haven't had enough time yet. She did get them to us, I think, yesterday, but I wanted to put them in just in case. If not, we can push them. People don't feel comfortable.
I read them.
I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I had a comment on one of them. It's probably the same
Motion
comment.
first.
Yeah, yep.
Madam Chair. Move
Yes.
the committee adopt the minutes of September 12th and October 10th as written.
Second.
Motion been seconded. Any further discussion? Liz, maybe, it's probably what I have. Amy, Liz?
I have one
Oh,
too.
You
I
do?
wasn't there, so I mean, no, I don't have any comments on that one.
The only comment I had was to amend to add the list of members that were not present according to open meeting law that is required.
Thank you.
Good to know.
That was the 10th, right?
Both of them.
Yeah, on both
Do
of
we
them.
do that
Yeah.
all the time?
We should.
Should be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think we've always
Yeah.
done that.
I've caught it a couple of times, but
Okay.
I think
our previous recording secretary was doing it
Of course, you
after I.
catch it the one meeting I miss.
No, sorry. Well, I missed the other one, so
Yeah.
it'll be
No,
my
it
name
is-
next
it is-
time.
it is
It'll be my
important.
name there.
And Rebecca's new, so that's something, thank you. Duly noted. Yeah, these are great
They're
minutes.
really nice.
Yes.
My other thought, and maybe I'm misremembering, which is fine, is on the October 10th meeting, under, let's see, policy 7, Elizabeth Spinney, Laura Often also reported that the bullying policy has been updated by Elizabeth Spinney.
I caught that too.
So-
I don't know where that.
I'm not sure what that
came
was, but
from,
Liz
but-
didn't, I think maybe we just take off by Elizabeth Spinney and just say it's been updated.
Yeah.
It was by Jay, actually, so that was my only, it made it sound like Liz was,
I mean, it was by the committee.
yeah. Well,
It just has been updated.
has been updated, I think. Oh, yeah, the policy versus, yeah, so just has been updated. But other than that, I thought they were great. I'm so glad to have Rebecca on board. It's nice that she's in district, too. So, thank you. Okay, any further discussion?
I just had one more thing.
Yeah. Amy?
Oktoberfest is spelled wrong.
Oh,
There's no beer, so it's not with a K.
is that the
Is that
distinction?
how it
I
is?
think so.
Oh, really? It's just for the month of
Yeah.
October? Okay.
There's no beer that you know of.
No, not on school property. There might be pre-gaming and post-gaming, but let's hope not.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the table. So, all in favor,
As amended.
as amended?
Amended.
All right, motion carries.
Just question.
Yeah, sorry.
The motion was just for the September 12th.
No, it was for
No, it
both.
was for
It was
both.
for both
For
of them?
both.
It was for
Okay,
both.
just to clarify, okay.
Yeah.
Then, yes,
Yes.
We're still good?
yes.
I think we're
yes.
good. All right, passes 4-0. Thank you. We have 2 warrants. The book,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I move that the school committee approve warrant marked W16 in the amount of $31,824.94.
Second.
Motion been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Okay. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the school committee approve warrant W16R in the amount of $435.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay,
Okay.
motion carries 4-0. Okay, I think that's it for warrants. Okay. Policy, moving, we did get a statement up on the website. Lynn did a great job. She there's a click, so you can click onto it. And then we're moving well with MASC to get everything over. And then we'll go back to kind of checking and starting. I know we have some policies that we're gonna look at. So, I did put on, if anybody has any questions about a policy, because it's split, with the ones we've already reviewed and the ones we're going to MSC, I put my name down, but of course, people can go to anyone on the committee, and have questions on that. So hopefully it'll be clear, and I'm really, it was a long list of ones that we were caught up on, and I feel very good about that, so. All right, member reports.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
I just went to look at that policy statement,
Oh,
so it's not public.
okay, well, I will let Lynn know. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Amy.
I hadn't heard
Actually-
about that. I must have missed it,
It was last meeting, you weren't here.
which I watched, but, okay.
We talked about,
Okay.
We-
Well, I just went to look at it just to catch up, and it's not,
well, that's not helpful.
Check that.
I mean, it will be, I'm sure, very helpful, but.
It
for
will
right now,
be.
it's not.
I will ask, I wonder if I can actually do it. It was my Google Doc. Anyway, thank you,
Yeah, you should be able to change
Amy.
security,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That should be simple.
I'm gonna, while you guys are doing, member updates, I'm gonna just look and see if I
Can I
can.
make a couple of announcements that are school-related but not school committee?
I suppose. I don't love that. I don't love that, but go,
You
it's
don't
up
love
to,
that?
it's
Okay.
not up to me. It's not up to me.
It is, you're the chair.
Well, no, you can say what you want. Go ahead.
Fill the-
Okay.
fill
No,
the-
we
fill
talk
the
about
time.
like Oktoberfest and things.
That's
Go
what I'm
ahead.
talking about.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Fundraisers.
I'm totally
I
kidding.
Just, a couple things coming up. So just announcing that the Krispy Kreme donut sale, donuts can be picked up by the kids tomorrow. And they'll be delivered fresh to those who ordered them. So that is supporting the Bon Voyage Committee for the senior class. And then Friday, I hope everyone comes to senior night, the football game, and enjoys concessions. The class of 2026 is selling concessions that day. And then it was already announced November 18th, the class of 24 is having their vendor and craft fair at the high school.
What times are that?
The
Times is that?
it's from 10 to 3. Thank you.
Speaking of pregame.
Thank you.
Is that it? Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
You're so busy.
So busy, doing good things.
So Sarah, I'm going to call her Sarah again. I'm so sorry. Megan already announced the costume concert tomorrow night. It will feature all of the Grafton High School musical groups, and there will be a bake sale to raise money for the Disney trip. The band and chorus are going to Disney in May to compete, which is very exciting. The football game on Friday will also feature all of the bands from all over the district. We had tried to do this at a previous game that the weather didn't cooperate, but it'll be Friday, so for senior night, which I think is going to be
Which
super
bands?
exciting. All the bands.
Like
Middle
the
school, high school,
the
Elementary schools are going to come.
Yeah.
They're all going to play.
Have they gotten together to practice songs together? or how does
No,
this
I think
work?
everybody's going to have kind of their own songs.
Okay.
I think maybe they've learned some of the same music. Some of those pep songs are very simple, which is part of the
Yeah.
allure, to get kids who maybe quit concert band in middle school. They come back and they do pep because it's so fun to play songs that they know. And it's part of kind of rebuilding the music program after COVID. The bands have been pretty devastated, so trying to build the numbers back up. I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome, and you might want to bring some earplugs.
I hope they like Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
I'm sure they
Pizza
will.
and candy and chips.
And all the Gatorade that I'm bringing.
And Gatorade.
I have a member report. I went to
Okay.
Oktoberfest. It was phenomenal.
Awesome.
Like phenomenal. My kids had so much fun. Everyone was just having a great time. The weather was fabulous. It was just so well put on, and it just felt like a really good bargain too. Like you pay one entrance fee and you can do everything. And I mean, we were there for hours. It was amazing.
Oh, is that how they did it this year? Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have paid more money though, so I spent a lot of money on raffles because I was prepared, but it was
to
really,
organizers
really
next year.
fun.
I said hint to
Yeah,
organizers next
yeah,
year.
exactly. But it was, very accessible, really wonderful,
yeah.
and it was really well run, and the student volunteers were so just friendly and enthusiastic, and we got some great face painting and hair braiding. My kids still have beads in their hair; they won't let me take them out. So it's been a week and a half.
Oh, wow.
So fun.
It's fine. It's fine. It's
Awesome.
cool.
Well,
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I also went to Oktoberfest
Good to see you.
with one of my kids we just enjoy going together and raffling and eating and just supporting. So we did that. We did not win anything, but we were happy to donate.
I didn't win either.
We, as Christy mentioned at the top of the game, several of us on the committee, along with Dr. Cummings, participated in, or I should say, dominated the Family Feud / trivia night. It was so much fun. Christy was an amazing host, and it was just nice to be out with some of the staff from GMS was there. It was a great community event. It was super fun. So thank you for inviting us. Also, Amy and I went to the playground dedication, and it feels like a long time ago, to Mrs. Parker. Jay gave a great speech. He sang. The kids at SGES are amazing. I loved them all. They were so just happy to see their former principal, or some of them didn't even know her, but they were singing. I think it was a delightful event. I hope Mrs. Parker felt as honored as she should feel. The playground is gorgeous, and it was another really great event. And I was really glad that we did that. I saw that there's one coming up for Mr. Pig, December, I'm gonna not say the right date, 8th, I wanna say. I know it's in early December, we'll talk about it before it gets there, to do the Jim's Gym.
It's the Jim Pignataro.
Yeah. Jim Pignataro.
That needs to be on the sign. So moved.
So, She made her own motion. Moved, seconded. So that was great. It's nice. These are great events. Anyway, so you did a great job. Your speech was fantastic.
Melissa, the staff
Melissa did
there,
a great,
Yeah, it was
everybody.
really
they
great.
did everything.
Yeah, it was great to be there. So that was, and we also, several of us were at town meeting on last Monday. So thanks for supporting the town. And I think that's it for my member report. Don't have any correspondence. We don't need to go in executive session. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All right, good night, Grafton.